Our final lesson in Topic 1A is piecewise defined functions. In this lesson, we'll recognize what it means to be a piecewise defined function, we'll look at domain and range, and then we'll look at graphing step functions. A piecewise defined function is a function that has different rules for different parts of the domain. So it's not going to just be linear, quadratic, or absolute value. It can be a combination of multiple types of shapes on your graph. Here's a word problem that applies a piecewise defined function. Alani has a summer job as a lifeguard. She makes $8 an hour for up to 40 hours per week. If she works more than 40 hours, she makes 1.5 times her hourly pay, or $12 an hour, for each of those hours over 40. Write a function that shows Alani's weekly earning based on the number of hours she worked, and then sketch a graph. Determine how much she would make if she works 53 hours in a week. So thinking about writing a function, what we want to do there, we'll underline that, is write f of x equals. That's our function notation. So she gets paid different amounts of money depending on the total amount of time she works. To start off, her normal hourly salary is $8 per hour. But then if she works more than 40 hours, she gets paid more. So then the second part's a little bit tricky. So if she works more than 40 hours, she gets paid $12 for anything that's more than 40. So like let's say she worked 70 hours. 70 minus 40, she'd get paid for 30 hours of overtime. So this is just her overtime amount. But she still makes the $8 for the first 40 hours, so we'd have to add that. That's her normal hourly rate. So say that normal hours. So anything up to 40 hours, she just makes $8 an hour. But if she goes above and beyond 40, she gets paid $12 for those hours. So that would be our equation that represents kind of the two situations she has. But let's figure out the domain. When is this true? In that first row, this is true for anything between 0 and 40. She just makes that base salary. For that second group, which is a little bit more kind of aggressive to look at right now, that's if she works over 40 hours. So there's your domain kind of for each of those rules. I'll put a little semicolon in between them. Let's take a look at simplifying maybe that second formula. So let's kind of clean this up a little bit. We'll do f of x equals, again. So do you see how we have two parts for this formula? We'll do two parts here as well. Here's our 8x, as long as she works anywhere from 0 to 40 hours. If we distribute the 12 in, we would get 12x minus 480 plus 8 times 40, which is 320. So we can simplify that second part to being 12x minus 160. That looks a little bit easier to work with than the 12 and then the x minus 40 in parentheses plus 8 times 40. That would be for any hours she works more than 40. This is an example of a piecewise defined function. So the next thing they want us to do is sketch a graph. We'll put time at the bottom and pay, oh golly, I'm out of room, aren't I? We'll put pay on that left-hand side. I'm going to start at 0 and 0 because it wouldn't make sense to have negative time or negative money. And I'm going to go every other for 10 hours. So 10, 20, and so on. And then over on the right, I'm going to count every 3. I'm going to go up to 100, and that'll be in dollars. So I'm kind of overlapping with my work here, and I'll just put that over here on the side. Okay, so that's how much money she would make. Now, if she doesn't work any hours at all, she gets 0 salary. If she works up to 40 hours, 40 times 8, she'd make $320. So I'm going to approximate at my 40 on the x, about 320 would put me, I don't know, somewhere about there. So I'm going to connect that with a straight line. Each hour she makes an $8 increment. But then it says she goes up from there. So then the slope is like a little bit steeper from the 12. So let's see what happens when she works 53 hours. That means we're going to evaluate F of 53. So if 53 is greater than 40, I'm going to plug it in that bottom row. I wouldn't plug it in the top because she's not making $8 the whole time. So I'll plug it in the bottom because that's the row it matches for the domain. 12 times 53. I don't know why I put equals there. That doesn't make sense. Sorry. Don't put that equals there. And then minus 160. 12 times 53 minus 160 would be 476. So now let's approximate that location on the graph. 53 is a little bit to the right of 50, but 476 is actually going to put us off our graph a little bit. So I'm going to approximate it maybe about right there. So if we connect that second part, you can see how the graph isn't a straight line to that point, but it kind of angles up just a little bit. That's an example of a piecewise defined function. When you're given the equation for a piecewise defined function, these are the rules for graphing. Each row will have its own rule and its own domain. Therefore, we'll graph each row separately based on that domain. You'll have boundaries on one side or the other, and depending on the type of inequality, you'll use either an open circle or a closed circle. You'll use an open circle if the inequality has a greater than or less than symbol without the bar underneath. You'll use a closed circle, however, if the inequality is greater than or equal to or less than or equal to. Let's put that idea to the test. Over on the right, we have a piecewise defined function. And you'll notice it has 3 different rows. So we're going to graph them separately. I'm going to start with that first row, and I'm going to put it in orange, just to kind of change up the color scheme a little bit. So I'm going to write the rule at the top, x plus 11. And then I'm just going to make a table. I have to start at negative 10, because that's on the left. And I'm going to end at negative 2, and that's on the right. And I'm just going to pick some numbers in between. I'll just pick some even numbers, doesn't really matter. I'll pick negative 6 and negative 4. But you can pick as many as you want in between. If you plug in negative 10 for x, negative 10 plus 11 is 1. If you plug in negative 6, you get 5. If you plug in negative 4, you get 7. And if you go to that right boundary at negative 2, we go all the way up to 9. So now let's look at our boundary dots. Negative 10 is less than or equal to. That means that's going to be a closed dot on that left-hand side. X is less than negative 2 on the right. That's going to be an open dot for our boundary on that side. Let's plot these points. Negative 10, 1, I'm going to put that closed dot. Negative 6 up 5, anything in between is always a closed dot. Negative 4 up 7. And then I'm going to go to negative 2 all the way up to 9, but that's an open dot boundary. Since it starts at negative 10 on the x-axis and stops at negative 2, I'm going to connect those, and we get a segment. And that's it. And then you go to the next row, and you do the same thing. The next row is x squared minus 1. That's our rule. And our domain goes from negative 2 to positive 2 on the x-axis. So there's an x and a y. I guess I could have put that for the other one too. X and y. Inputs and outputs. So we have negative 2 to 2. I'm going to do all the values that are integers because there are only 5 of them. In order of operations, we're going to square that number first, then subtract 1. So be careful here. Negative 2 squared is 4. 4 minus 1 is 3. Negative 1 squared is 1. Minus 1 is 0. 0 squared is 0. Minus 1 is negative 1. But now watch what happens when we plug in the same numbers but positive. Positive 1 squared is 1. Minus 1 is 0. Positive 2 squared is 4. Minus 1 is 3. Notice each of these have a less than or equal symbol. That means the boundary on the left is a closed dot and the boundary on the right is a closed dot. Plot those 5 ordered pairs and then connect them. You'll see that kind of curved shape for that quadratic part of the function. If we connect them from left to right, it's only, there we go. It's only that small part of the graph. It doesn't continue on forever because the x has a boundary at -2 and a boundary at +2. All right, last one. I want you to graph that all by yourself. Figure out the rule, the domain, plug in as many points as you want, decide an open or closed circle, and plot the points. When you feel you've accomplished that, press play, and we'll answer the questions at the bottom. That last part put us slightly off of our graph. I picked 2 and 7 as my boundary numbers, and then a couple of them in between. I could have done 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, but I knew that that would just be a segment, so I just plotted a couple. Notice at 2, -3, that's an open dot, but at 7, -13, that's a closed dot. Now let's talk about domain and range. Thinking about domain and range, remember domain goes from left to right. So on the left-hand side, the smallest value you see for x is -10, and that's a closed dot, which means it's a bracket. As you move along to the right, we have x values all the way over to 7 on the x-axis, and that's also a closed dot. Watch out what happens with range, though. If we think bottom to top, go smallest y value up to biggest y value, the smallest y value is -13. But as it goes up along the y-axis, notice there's a gap kind of in the middle here. Between this part right here, there's no y values. So it only goes up to -3. And that's an open dot, so we have to write that with a parenthesis. But then at -1, it starts up again. And it goes all the way up. We've got values all the way till we get to that point. So we need to do a little union. Starting at -1 again, on the y-axis, our values go all the way up to +9. That has an open dot, so that needs a parenthesis. That would be your range. All right, let's take a look at intervals. When is the graph increasing? When is it decreasing? So I'm going to put I for increasing and D for decreasing. And remember, when we read these, we always just go from left to right on the x-axis and see what's happening with our function. So I'm going to get rid of my stars here, all that kind of stuff. So we can look at just the graph of the piecewise function. From left to right, I notice that the graph is increasing from -10 on the x-axis all the way to -2. Oops, and I used the wrong boundary, didn't I? Hopefully you caught that, although it was kind of fast. Remember, increasing and decreasing intervals are parentheses only. So from -10 to when x equals -2, we're increasing. But then from -2 and that little part of the quadratic to 0, the graph decreases from left to right. From 0 to 2, it looks like it increases for that quadratic. But then from 2 all the way to 7, the graph decreases. So bringing some terminology from earlier in the chapter to these piecewise defined functions. We're going to skip the next example where it gives you the function and you write the equation, and we'll end our lesson with the step function at the bottom. A step function is defined as a function that pairs every input in an interval to the same output value. When you sketch the graph, it's going to look like a staircase or like you're walking up or down a flight of stairs. Here's what we mean. In example 3, it says the shipping cost of items purchased from an online store is dependent on the weight of the items. The table represents the shipping costs based on the weight. So y is based on x. Graph the function. Looking over here at the right, we've got 4 parts to our step. You can see those 4 different sections. Anything that weighs from 0 to 2 pounds has the same output of $5. Notice for 0, it's going to be an open dot because of the inequality, up to 2 pounds, which is a closed dot because of the inequality. And the output is going to be $5 each time. On the graph, it'll look the same as that segment up above. We'll have an open dot at 0 and a closed dot at 2. Anything within that weight has a shipping fee of $5. If there's more weight in your package to ship, then the price bumps up to $8. So from 2 up to 4, again, we're going to do that open circle boundary on the left, closed on the right. up to 8 or 2 to 4 pounds. It was up to $8. So we're just going to approximate about right there. Well, maybe I'll make that a little different. All right, let's try that again. So a bigger circle right there, over here to the right. And that would be that portion of the step function. Oh, and that's just messy, isn't it? Let's try that all over again. Sorry, you guys. Open circle on the left and close circle on the right. Close enough. All right. Then it bumps up again. From 4 to 6 pounds, it costs $11 to ship it. Closed or open on the left, closed on the right, up 11. So it's just up a little bit higher than the last one. It's kind of hard to draw that in there. Hopefully you guys are doing okay. And then last but not least, anything from 6 to 8 pounds costs all the way up, or goes all the way up to a shipping fee of $14. Now I can even get that right in there. There we go. So we'll go up to 14 and we'll approximate as best we can. There's open circle on the left and closed on the right. So can you kind of see it looks like you're walking upstairs a little bit? That would be our picture of the step function. What are the domain and range of the function? So the domain are all the values on the x-axis. Notice we go from 0 pounds all the way up to 8 pounds. It can't equal 0, but it can equal 8. So that would be a parenthesis for 0 up to 8, which is a bracket. The range would be all of our possible outputs. So notice it isn't linear from left to right, it's this step function. Our range is going to be written a little bit differently. It can only be a $5 fee, an $8 fee, an $11 fee, or a $14 fee. That represents the range. It says, what are the maximum and minimum values? The maximum shipping cost is that $14. The minimum shipping cost is what? It's only $5. And there's your lesson for 1.3.